Kai here with Kaitaku, and it is time for my April monthly wrap up. I read some great books this month, not as many books as I've read in other months this year. We kind of slowed down this month, which was good. I kind of needed the break. I have been cranking out books this year unexpectedly. I did not expect to be like, start the ground running with reading these books. And so April, I definitely read less books, and my May is kind of shaping up to be that I may be reading less books in May. And I think that's good. I think, look, if you are able to get one book, if you're able to get 50 books, whatever you're able to do in a month is great. So I think that every once in a while, I need to take a time, read a little less books. So this time, we barely made it past a page in this month's monthly wrap-up spread, and I am 100,000% okay with that. So first, let's talk about the books that I read digitally. So first up, I read The Intimacy Experiment. So The Intimacy Experiment, I got this as a NetGalley ARC, and I am so excited that I did. Thank you to the publisher for that, because it was so good. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It is a contemporary romance. It deals with a sex worker who has started her own company. She used to do porn. She no longer does porn, and she has started her own sex positive sex education company with her best friend. And I just think that is absolutely amazing, because there is so much misinformation regarding sex and women's reproductive organs and all that good stuff out there in the world. And I just thought that was such an interesting and empowering thing for her to do once her career was over, to start, trying to do these sex education courses. And she gets called upon because she's decided she wants to start teaching. She wants to go into colleges, and she wants to take part of this sex education internet, because it's an internet website, and she wants to start teaching live courses. So she goes to a workshop and she shares what she does, and she is approached by a rabbi. And he has decided that if his synagogue wants to reach out to a younger generation, that they need to appeal to a younger generation. And so he wants her to teach an intimacy course for the younger members of his synagogue. Needless to say, sparks fly between the two of them. It is a great story. The sex work aspect is so well done. The characters are great. I enjoyed it from beginning to end. Apparently this is a second book to The Roommate, which I already own The Roommate, and I didn't realize when I requested the NetGalley for this book that it was the second to The Roommate. But now I am just even more excited and pumped to read The Roommate. So great book, highly recommend, 4.5 out of 5 stars. Next, digitally, I read Our Fake Marriage, Volume 6. I love Our Fake Marriage. It's such a good series. I enjoy a fake relationship to real relationship trope, as I've said on this channel before. And this story just keeps getting more and more hilarious. In this volume, she's been kidnapped because she's been kidnapped by one of his friends who's like a sheik, I think. And he's like really rich and already has like 4 wives. And he's like, you can be my 5th wife. And he's like, I'll treat you so much better than him because I'll actually recognize we're in a relationship. And she's like, but everyone knows that we're in this fake marriage. And he's like, no, for real. And then, of course, he has to go and save her. It's adorable. Loved it. Can't wait for Volume 7. Next, I read Cry Wolf. Cry Wolf is in the Alpha and Omega series by Patricia Briggs. I have been binging that, between that and the Mercy Thompson series. I've kind of been reading them in timeline order as opposed to publishing order. So that has actually made the story easier for me to consume and wrap my head around, and I am loving it. So Cry Wolf, we've got werewolves. We've already recognized werewolves, coyotes, fae and fairies and witches. And so Cry Wolf, we are dealing with a witch And this witch is trying to track down a particular werewolf. This witch has like enslaved this poor werewolf's wife's spirit, and we just got to defeat her. And we are learning more. So Cry Wolf, the Alpha and Omega series, kind of centers around Anna and Charles. And we are learning more about Anna and Charles. We are learning more about their relationship. They are getting closer, because this was a situation where when the two of them met, their wolves decided they were mates, but their people's side hadn't gotten to know each other yet. And so they're starting to get to know each other, starting to try to form this bond. And then this is kind of the book where they finally form like a mating bond between the two of them. And I loved every second of it. After that, I read Boys Run the Riot. I am so excited for Boys Run the Riot. I got this as a digital ARC, an advanced reader copy on NetGalley. Thank you so much to the publisher. Loved it so much. Will be getting a physical copy ASAP. It deals with our character who is transgender. He has been born a woman, however, he does not identify that way, and he is obsessed with clothing and how clothing can make him look how he feels. And I thought that that was such a great premise. And he gets in with a classmate who wants to start a clothing line, and I'm really excited to see how all of this plays out. The mangaka themselves, they are transgender as well. There was an interview at the back of the arc, and I really enjoyed getting some insight into the mangaka's own experiences and how those experiences translated into the manga. Extremely well done, utterly amazing. Will be getting a physical copy and can't wait to read volume 2. After that, gotta look at my book to see what else I read digitally. I read Crazy About a Cowboy. So Crazy About a Cowboy is a contemporary romance. It is a cowboy romance. We have our beauty queen, Miss Texas Lovin'. Miss Texas Lovin' is on a tour to find the most romantic town in Texas. And so she's gone to a couple of other towns, and so she has now come to our town here, where our cowboy is trying to save his family's farm because a tornado ripped up all of their pecan trees, and they do not know if they're going to survive. So if he can get Miss Texas Lovin' to pick their town as the most romantic town, then he's hoping that they can capitalize on the wedding industry and turn their super old barn into like one of those, cute rustic barns that people like to get married in. Utterly adorable. Love a contemporary romance. Love a cowboy romance. Throw in some buffness and our shirtlessness. I'm here for it. And so watching the two of them, the beauty queen and the cowboy, kind of get to know each other, because this is one of those disastrous first meeting incidents where their first meeting is just utterly horrible, and then having to see that change and then shift into falling in love. Enjoyed it. I received that as an advanced copy. It comes out at the end of the month in May, and I'm contemplating whether or not I'm going to get a physical copy. I did really enjoy it. After that, digitally, I read Defying Kurosaki Kun Volume 1. This was cute, okay? I'm ready to read more of it. I did not know that I had been missing out, because I think there's like 12 volumes out already. It is a digital-only title. And this is one of those like white prince versus black prince sort of situation where the girl is in love with the white prince because he's so nice and he's blonde and all that good stuff. And then you've got the dark prince who is mean and ornery and cranky to all the people. But of course, we know it's all about the dark prince. So we're going to see how this turns out. He's kind of like blackmailed her because she's like done. She ended up like coming back late to the dorm or whatever. And so now she's supposed to do whatever he says. And it's cute. I'm going to see how this comes out. These kinds of stories tend to have a little bit of toxicity that I'm just like, do we need it? But so far, so good. And I'm going to continue keeping up with that. Also, digitally, I read the next installment of the Alpha and Omega, and that's Hunting Ground. Hunting Ground, I found Hunting Ground to be not as action-packed as the previous books that I had read, but I did really like Hunting Ground because Hunting Ground does start to shape Charles and Anna's experience and their relationship together more, because now they are officially mates, they share a mate bond, and they are trying to navigate what that means for the two of them and how that mate bond is going to kind of change their relationship and help their relationship grow. So enjoyed it. Can't wait to read the next one. Already got it on my Kindle. And last digitally, because I did read some physically, last digitally I read The Walls Between Us. And The Walls Between Us is one of those childhood friends to maybe lovers sort of situation. We've got our guy and our girl. They've been friends forever and ever and ever. They live next door to each other. Their friends have been friends for forever. And he is in love with her. But we're now at that point in high school where, like, she's super taller than him and he's down here. And so she kind of is like, I don't know. It's interesting. I enjoyed it. I will keep reading it. And I hope I'm not mixing it up. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm mixing this up with She's My Knight that I read last month. What was The Walls Between Us about? I do know it's about neighbors, though. It is about neighbors. They do live next door. The rest of those details I'm a little fuzzy on. I kind of read that at the beginning of the month. Hi, Editing Kai here, and giving you a look at some of my shelves that you have not seen. So The Walls Between Us is actually about two childhood friends who have lived next door like forever and ever. And the female childhood friend is like, I need a boyfriend. It is time for me to find a boyfriend. I want to date and I need help finding a boyfriend. And the male childhood friend is like, well, why don't you date me? I'm awesome. I'm attractive. Like, everybody wants to date me. And she's like, that right there, that's why I don't want to date you. We're your childhood friends and you're kind of a narcissist. Like, apparently you got popular one day and now you're a jerk. So no, I don't want to date you. And he's like, you should date me. So now we're going through the hijinks of him like trying to convince her to date him. And you can see that her feelings and thoughts for him are slowly shifting from best friend to maybe more. So I don't know what Filming Kai was thinking. I think I confused She's My Knight, Window to Window, and The Walls Between Us all together. And so that is what The Walls Between Us is actually about. Thoroughly enjoyed it, picking up volume 2. But enjoyed it, loved it, will continue reading, and maybe I will reread it so I can remember exactly what that one was about. Anyway, so I also read a few books physically. So I read The Beautiful Ones by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, and I will leave a link up here to my review about that video, about that book. And then let me just go ahead and bring the stack over here. Whoops, sorry, Haley Jane. Sorry. And then I read To Astera with Love. And I will leave a link up here to that review video for that. Both of those books I read for Be2 Weird Tours. And you can see my reviews there. And so for actual book club, I read The Wolf of Oren Yarrow, which is a chunk-a-monk. And they just get bigger. So like book 2 is way bigger than this and book 3 is bigger than that. And they just keep getting bigger. Don't care. Reading them all. Loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed Tally. So this is a story about Queen Tallien, and her husband leaves her after 3 years of marriage. And she gets a letter and he's asking to meet up, and hijinks and shenanigans ensue from there. It is very good. It's dark, it is deep, it's compelling. You have a complex female character. If you are not a fan of complex female characters who make messy decisions and choices, may not be for you, but I loved it. Loved the magic. Ubek. Now for the rest of my manga. I read Incurable Case of Love Volume 7. So Incurable Case of Love Volume 7 is the finale. This is it. Maki and Joji has finished. This is the final volume of Incurable Case of Love. I thoroughly enjoyed this series. I do not think it's my favorite Maki and Joji series, but I did like it a lot. I think the only qualm that I really have is I felt like the ending was rushed. I do think that we could have had maybe one more volume. It was very much like Everybody's Getting Married, where like he goes off and then it's like time jump and then it's back. And so I didn't really appreciate that per se. I think we could have gotten maybe one more volume out of this to make the ending a little more flushed out, but still loved it. Glad I own it. And I think at this point I now have all of Maki and Joji's English printed works. So I'm excited to see what else she comes out with in the future. Next, I read Those Not So Sweet Boys. And Those Not So Sweet Boys, I think I'm going to do an first impression on. It's kind of thick. And, you know, when you look at the cover, you would think that this was a BL. It's not. It's a shoujo. I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm going to do a first impression video on this, so I'm not going to give you a lot of details right now, but loved it. Next, I read Apothecary Diaries Volume 2. Oh, I am enjoying this series so much. I am pre-ordered for Volumes 3 and 4. Cannot wait. Need them now. Loving this series so much. Loving our main character. She is a hoot. She is an absolute joy. She is absolutely freaking hilarious. And I cannot wait to see what other shenanigans she keeps getting into the court going forward. The rest of what I read for the month, BL. Lots of BL. We had a good time reading BL. So Tokyo Pop has been coming out with some really great BL titles. So shout out Tokyo Pop, like great BL titles. They've got their Love is Love kind of imprint, and that has been doing BL as well as Yuri. So like shout out Tokyo Pop. I need more BL. And of course, theirs is more of like a lighter, fluffy, older teen sort of situation. So we're not dealing with like the hardcore smut that is Sublime. But I am enjoying the light and fluffy because sometimes you just want light and fluffy. So this was cute. It's a standalone, so it's a little one shot. And it is about our coffee shop worker who is in love with our patron who comes all the time. And so our patron is supposedly there for one of the other employees, and he's like, well, why don't you pretend to date me so that I can help you seduce this employee so that she'll want to date you. And then of course feelings grow and blossom, and then we end up together, and it's great. I love it. So cute. Next, I read Candy Color Paradox Volume 5. Candy Color Paradox is one of my like top 7-ish manga BL of all time. I love Candy Color Paradox. It's an enemies to lovers. I thoroughly enjoyed watching them. The first 4 volumes kind of be enemies to falling for each other to getting together to like now we're an established relationship, and characters who may or may not be trying to interrupt that established relationship. So this was a good series, a good volume. We've got a childhood friend, one of his childhood friends who comes back because they're in trouble, and then how that's affecting their relationship, and then him helping him to solve that. So thoroughly enjoyed this volume. I need volume 6 now, please. And then, of course, this is top 5 of all time. Sekaiichi Hatsukoi, The World's Greatest First Love, Volume 14. This is probably one of my favorite couples of all time, Yukina and Kisa-san. I enjoyed this volume. We are getting to the point where Ritsu is going to fall in love and with Takano, and because what's interesting about the book, and let me see if I can find it without spoiling anything. Let's see. So sometimes at the end of the chapters, we get like a little timeline, And so it says 36 days until he falls completely in love. So like, you know, ready for him to fall completely in love, ready for us to get to the proposal arc, and I saw that cute little 30-minute OVA. So I love. It's right here, Seikaichi Hatsukoi, which is a spinoff from Junjo Romantica, which is back here as well, which I would love for us to get the rest of it in English because it's finished, but I think it's finished. I'm gonna check on that. But I think it's finished. But like, we only got the first 12 in English, and I think there's like 20. I would like the rest, please. But love this, loving this. Can't wait for more. I think I have to wait until next year. Makes me want to cry. I picked up Finder Volume 10. And so Finder Volume 10 is Finder Honeymoon. We finally have kind of gotten to the point where like they are in a relationship. They understand that the other needs the other and that they want to be in this relationship, which kind of took a while to get there. And this is one of those ones where like I keep reading it. And now that they're like in a relationship and things are okay, I enjoy it. But like volumes like 1 through 5, oh, they were a little rough for me because there's a lot of non-con, like a lot. Like volumes 1 through 5 are all non-con. And then now I'm just kind of like, so is this a Stockholm Syndrome situation? But now that we're at the sweet lovey part, I'm kind of okay. But that's Finder. We'll see when the next one comes out because that one ended on a little bit of a cliffhanger. And then last but certainly not least, I read Tori 10, Birds of a Feather, Volume 2, which is the end. So it is just a 2-volume series, and that's it. So I enjoyed it. So we finally figure out what's going on because this guy can talk to birds, and then he's got some sort of connection to birds, and we finally figure out what that is. And we finally figure about the crow because in Volume 1, he had kind of started getting a crush on the crow. Because the crow reminded him of him, and we figure out what all that is. And we got a nice little cute little conclusion, and it was adorable. It's sweet, it's not really super smutty, and I liked it. So those were all the books that I read. Once I like say it out loud, it seems like more, but when you compare like this month's spread to, let's look at last month's spread. I read way less this month than I did last month, and I enjoyed the break. So I am glad that I read what I read, but I'm also glad that I read less because it gave me time for sleeping. Also, work is crazy. So let me know in the comments, have you read a book that you just didn't necessarily like particularly liked, but you had to keep going? Like you were like, I don't know if I like this, but like I need to know what happens, which is kind of like me and Finder. So let me know that in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all the standard YouTube things, and I will see you all next time. Bye.